Hello there, it's Phil the Practical Gardener again, and today we're going to be talking about salad greens. Now this time of the year, which is late winter, I have very few fresh vegetables in my garden. I have got some peas, I have got spring onions that I'm picking, parsley that you can see in the background, and also a few brassicas such as a few cauliflower and broccoli. Largely I'm relying on materials that we actually preserved from crops that we actually grew over the summer. But there is an exception to that, and that is salad crops. And I'm able to crop salad crops throughout the year without any trouble whatsoever. And one of the reasons for that is because salad greens, by which I'm taking to mean plants that can be eaten raw without any cooking or processing, and then added to a salad of tomatoes and radishes and pickled beetroot in our case, and eggs and tuna, a very, very healthy meal. But I am able to pick them all year round. And the reason for that is because they come from a range of unrelated families which have a similar purpose. For example, lettuces, spinach, miner's lettuce, magenta spreen and purslane are all suitable for uncooked salads. However, they're actually unrelated, coming from different plant groups. That is to say daisy, amaranth, montea, chennapods and portulaca. The young leaves and shoots of beetroot and peas, which are further families again, are ideal as salad crops. Salad greens are relatively undemanding compared with a lot of other crops. A lot of them don't require a lot of light or fertility. Some of them will grow in wet and shady conditions, such as these miner's lettuce that I have here, that I'm able to pick throughout the winter. They just self-seed and grow very readily. So, without more ado, let's talk a little bit about the growing of salad greens. First of all, let's talk about the different seasons. You're able to grow different salad greens throughout the different seasons. I've mentioned already that these self-seeded miner's lettuce will self-seed and grow quite happily throughout the winter, providing us with as much crop as we could possibly want. Lettuces can be grown throughout the year, particularly if you do give them a degree of shelter and shade through the summer and plenty of moisture. A plant that is particularly suited to summer is purslane, and purslane in my environment is actually quite a common weed, but I'm able to leave some on my garden and actually use that as a salad green, and it requires very little maintenance. It doesn't mind getting dry, and it will grow in quite infertile situations. The more sensitive greens, such as lettuce, can be grown in a close or tunnel house throughout the winter to extend the season of that protected structure. This can be a good use for a greenhouse which has been used for summer crops such as tomatoes, cucumbers or capsicums. Also, in this situation, the leaves are less likely to develop the bitterness that can occur if the plants get stressed. Next, we'll look at light requirements. I've already mentioned salad greens generally don't require the full sunlight that you would actually need for most vegetables, such as beans or onions or tomatoes, beetroot or brassicas. These miner's lettuces, I've also got them growing in very shady situations. Lettuces, I mentioned before, don't mind growing somewhere where they don't get full sun. In fact, sometimes they even prefer that. The purslane, which I mentioned before, is one of the few that actually does require full sun to do well. This does mean that you can use areas which aren't normally productive for vegetable production. Now, having said that, somewhere that is shaded by a fence might be very suitable, but an area that is shaded by shrubs or trees might not be, because there might be too much root competition from those shrubs. They will actually take away nutrients and moisture from the plants, and you might find that they don't do very well at all. Next, let's look at nutrients. Now, most salad greens aren't particularly demanding of nutrients, so I don't actually add any fertilizer to my gardens. I rely on the natural fertility that I have built up through the addition of organic matter. If you don't have that, you might need to add a nitrogen-rich fertilizer, or you can add organic materials such as manure or compost. I do need to give a word of warning there. Sometimes those materials can contaminate the leaves of the salad greens, and this has actually led to food poisoning through contamination in some situations. So you do need to be very careful to wash the leaves of plants in those situations if you have been spreading, for example, animal manure. Next, we'll discuss moisture requirements. I mentioned before that these miner's lettuces do require a high degree of moisture. That is suitable because, of course, I'm growing them through the winter and they actually get all the water that they could possibly need. The purslane in the summer doesn't actually require watering. So for example, lettuces or other similar plants would actually require regular watering to ensure vigorous growth and to avoid the bitterness that you might get if the plants actually get dry. I mentioned before that the minus lettuces self-seed, and quite a range of salad greens do actually do so quite readily. This includes purslane, rocket or arugula, magenta spreen, orach and lettuces. You may need to thin out the seedlings or even treat some as weeds. Allowing the plants to self-seed means that they actually become companion plants and that the flowers will draw beneficial insects to your garden. So there are multiple benefits in allowing them to self-seed and regrow. So that's all I was going to cover with salad greens. Just a reminder that under my playlist 24 I have got quite a wide range of vegetable crops that I've discussed, both in general terms and also specific ones. I think the only ones I have remaining now to do are beans and cucurbits, that is to say cucumbers, courgettes or zucchinis and pumpkins. I also of course have the full range of playlists available for you covering all aspects of landscaping and gardening, including looking after your soil, watering your plants, pest management, trees, shrubs, flowers. So have a look if you're interested in any of them. I have produced well over 100 tips now. My target is over 200, and that will then match the ones that I've got available in my book, which I've just released recently, called Down to Earth Gardening. And if you're interested in that book, which includes all the aspects that I'm discussing in these videos, you can buy that book through some of the platforms which I've listed down below in the description. Don't forget to like this tip because that does help me. Share it with others if you think they'd find this useful, and of course subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And finally, as always, thank you very much for watching this through to the end.